veteran Anthony Griffith took the pole for our annual stop to the ABQ Speedbowl presented by Zing Energy. Nicholas Radcliffe, the rookie for Andy Pearson Racing, qualified on his outside, and he outqualified all the other rookies in the field by a wide margin, including his teammate for this race, Stefan Wodarczyk, making a start for Andy Pearson Racing, running double duty with ASCC this weekend. This half-mile track with sweeping, progressively banked corners and almost non-existent straightaways always produces wild racing, and that's not necessarily what these teams want after the absolute smash fest we had at Sayre Speedway last weekend, where only 8 cars finished. Torn-up cars are especially painful with a long-haul race like this, given that most of our teams are based in the Midwest and on the East Coast. In fact, I believe there's only one local team on hand this weekend. That would be the 96 driven by Michael Chester. We'll see how this race plays out, but I believe based on history that everyone's prayers for a clean race are going to go unanswered, as we now go trackside to bring you the highlights of the Zing Energy left turns at ABQ. The pace car leaves the field of 38 in the hands of Anthony Griffith, who launches off the line. He looks like he's going to clear everybody, but here comes Nicholas Radcliffe with a burst of speed through 2, nearly making contact with the 7 and just nosing ahead as we come through 3 and 4. Carrie Fenton in the 64, back in the M&J 64, falls into the clutches of Mauro Adachi, who gets around her on the outside for 3rd, and Nicholas Radcliffe absolutely takes off with a move around the outside. ABQ's infamous high line kicks in very early. Rising ASCC star Stefan Wodarczyk finished 3rd last week with Team Timothy, but his debut with Andy Pearson Racing is going to come to a very early end. He did not qualify well and got stuck in the middle of the pack there, and some contact with Michaela Perry-Jones puts him into the inside wall. I'm not sure why we have that wall jutting out right up against the racing surface, but Wodarczyk becomes its first victim. Mike Malone in the 46 grabbed his maiden win in last year's race with a battered car, but he is not going to get the chance to defend that very early on as a crash breaks out right next to him. Todd Stater and Rip Tyler made contact as they were reacting to Mike Malone. Tyler moved up right into Todd Stater's path, and that's going to give Archer Helms some very heavy damage as well. This will bring out the first caution of the day on lap 13, and this is an especially tough break for Mike Malone. Taylor Matthews, our points leader coming into this race, had to make an unscheduled stop coming to the restart. However, an immediate spin by Bobby Dwyer would bring out the caution again and prevent her from going more than 2 laps down. Also under this caution, the pole sitter Anthony Griffith blows up. He is now going to go 0 for 3 in finishing races to start the season. He had remained in 2nd, but during that first caution, a cycle of pit stops would shuffle Carrie Fenton into the lead. Nicholas Radcliffe has fallen to 4th place. Hunter Blaze in the 71 for Gravity Racing moves up into 2nd, chasing after Carrie Fenton back in the 64 after Tyler Faber won in that car last week. But some contact involving Bobby Dwyer again will set off another pileup coming into turn 3, this time involving Noah Dalitz and Billy Ray Smith Thompson. Dalitz gets a little help onto his roof from Danica Hollifield, and that's Sergei Akovsky in the 82 on the inside, also with very heavy damage. Skeeter Farnsworth in the 24 and Nathan Ormond in the 95 involved as well. Another Team Bird car, the 69 of David Bloom, is going to cause trouble for Harry Asinola and Kelly Splicen on the restart. Enola and Michael Chester go hard into that inside wall. It's been a pretty crash-filled start of the season for Harry Asinola with his own operation, Fat Boy Racing. Meanwhile, Hunter Blaze stalks Carrie Fenton as we finally get another green flag run going. It's a little early to say for sure, but I wonder if going down to 1 car is helping Gravity Racing's FARC operations. Hunter Blaze, of course, finished 2nd at Remembrance Field and qualified 4th at Sayre Speedway before getting caught up in a wreck. But now he's got a few more difficulties with Bobby Dwyer getting in the way and costing him some ground against Carrie Fenton. As we approach the 1/3 mark, Nicholas Radcliffe has slipped back to 6th, but he's not doing himself any favors by smacking the wall off of turn 4. Dalton Carter in the 376 for Mason Yokoyama's team has no choice but to run into him. That gives us another restart. Bobby Dwyer slides into the 41 of Kelly Splice, and yet again, she goes hard into that inside wall. Fortunately, there's a tire barrier there. Bobby Dwyer gets his team owner, John Bird, caught up in that. Dalton Carter got involved in another one after slipping back through the field thanks to that crash. Kelly Splicen has to be furious with the Team Bird drivers. She's been hit by them 3 times now, and Tony Long sails into the tire barriers down there after the restart, thanks to some contact with the back of Nathan Ormond. Tony Long's been doing very well over at SWH Racing to start this season, but this is obviously going to do them no favors. Michaela Perry-Jones has been leading on the last 2 restarts. After everybody else has made their second stop, she finally hits pit road again this time around. And it's a heartbreaker for Mark Thompson as he blows up from 8th place in what is so far his final run with Gulf Motorsports. And while he's done a lot more than what that car is capable of, he just hasn't had the results that he wanted. And after this, he is going to have to devote a lot more of his time to Ron Oil's ongoing legal battles. Meanwhile, with Michaela Perry-Jones hitting the pit lane, Carrie Fenton is back in the lead, but Hunter Blaze is all over her, nearly taking her out off of turn 4. Mauro Adachi in the 98 back there is also lurking, eager to show what he's got in the car that Mark Thompson won the championship in last year. But so far, Carrie Fenton is holding them off, trying to help M&J's resurgence this year. Tyler Faber brought them back to victory lane for the first time since 2017 in that very car at Sayre Speedway last week. But she just can't shake Hunter Blaze and Mauro Adachi, who are both looking low. That's not the ideal line. Hunter Blaze once again coming very close to disaster with her. Blaze still committed to trying to make that inside work, as Mauro Adachi now pokes his nose in there for second once again. And that's going to cost them a little bit of momentum. Carrie Fenton getting a little bit of breathing room right now. Looking a little further back at Nick Azure, who's trying to hold off the absolutely war-torn car of Skeeter Farnsworth for 7th place. Michaela Perry-Jones in the 93 is making her way back up through the field, but Azure now has to pit for some kind of mechanical trouble. Bad luck just seems to follow the Azure family wherever they go. It was Catherine Azure's team, the 46, going up in smoke early on, and now Frank Azure's team with son Nick at the wheel goes 5 laps down with an unscheduled stop. Some untimely interference and a little bit of contact from David Bloom is going to cost Carrie Fenton the lead. Hunter Blaze sweeps into the spot with Mauro Adachi following, but here comes Bobby Dwyer. Hunter Blaze has to check up, and that gives Mauro Adachi the lead. The Team Bird teammates of Bobby Dwyer and David Bloom throw a monkey wrench into this one, and Mauro Adachi will take advantage to lead his first laps of the season. Meanwhile, Hunter Blaze will hold off Carrie Fenton and keep second at least. Taylor Matthews has remained 2 laps down ever since her unscheduled stop, but with all the attrition, she's in a battle for 15th with Todd Stater until some contact with Carrie Fenton sends Todd Stater around, and Matthews goes straight into the inside wall. She pulls that car into the pits in absolute disgust. Her main points rival, Billy Ray Smith-Thompson, has also fallen out of this race, so this is going to leave the championship lead up for grabs. Mauro Adachi was leading after the restart and another round of pit stops, but whatever the Walker Texas Racing crew did to that 98 car was not working, as Hunter Blaze blows by him now to reassume the lead. And it appears that not even second place is safe, as Carrie Fenton is very quickly catching that 98. Something's definitely gone wrong with that car during that caution. Meanwhile, Bobby Dwyer and David Bloom are enjoying a battle for 16th, but it looks like David Bloom got a little bit loose and swept across Bobby Dwyer's front bumper. So Dwyer, not really to blame for an accident for once, but he's definitely been a little overconfident today, and coming back to the caution, Bloom gets run over by Mauro Adachi, but he just glances off the inside wall and everybody else misses him. David Bloom will continue. But on the restart, it's Mauro Adachi versus backmarkers round 2 as Nathan Orman slides up in front of Adachi and takes both cars into the wall, and that is a lot of positions that Adachi is going to lose after running up in the top 3 all day. And then on lap 118, Bobby Dwyer's day comes to an end as the 72 car breaks down around the outside of turns 1 and 2. It's surprising that with all the trouble Dwyer's gotten into today, it's a mechanical failure that does him in. But it's very, very unfortunate that we've seen this over-aggression from Bobby Dwyer, who is in a dire need to take care of his beyond underfunded equipment. And that just hasn't happened today. Meanwhile, Hunter Blaze continues to lead, with Michaela Perry-Jones having moved back up into second place now. Her Durban Sport Racing teammate Grant Carsons is right up there in 4th, and rounding out the top 5 right now is Daniel Sharp in the 77 for Team Thunder. 5 is the magic number for Daniel Sharp today. He also qualified there, and if he maintains his position, he is on his way to his first career top 5 finish. And that's what you get when you stay out of trouble, but Skeeter Farnsworth might disagree with me on that, as he has the most damage of anybody still on track, but he's right behind Daniel Sharp in 6th. His perseverance today is really paying off for him, and he needs it. He crashed out at Remembrance Field after a dismal qualifying effort and failed to qualify at Sayre Speedway. Mauro Adachi is making moves through the field after tangling with Nathan Ormond. He has just gotten around Durain Ridman back in that 68 car for 8th place, and is now working on finding a way around Nicholas Radcliffe, but he's still got Ridman to deal with. Ridman trying to get that position back around the higher banked outside line, but Adachi just a little too strong to make it easy for him. But despite that wreck, it's still a very good run so far for Mauro Adachi, the Japanese Super GT winner and Otakuma Media executive. He's making a return to FARC Racing this year, running full-time for Walker Texas Racing, last year's champions. He's finally gotten back around Durain Ridman, but makes a little contact with Nicholas Radcliffe. Mauro Adachi getting very aggressive as he tries to work his way up through the field, but he knows he's running out of laps. He jumps to the outside of Radcliffe and will take the 7th spot. But we're hitting 13 laps to go right now. It might be too little too late for Mauro Adachi to get back to the front, and now he's got Danica Hollifield, the lapped car, to deal with. We've got one more casualty just for good measure, as if we haven't had enough of those today. Patrick Ashcroft goes up in smoke from 11th. He's got a bit of damage on that car from previous incidents. Lapped cars have been the bane of Michaela Perry-Jones' existence for this last leg of the race. David Bloom holds her up and gives Daniel Sharp an opportunity to get by her for 4th, but Perry-Jones isn't going down without a fight. Todd Stater in that 66 also mucking things up for the top 5 here, but Michaela Perry-Jones gets back around Daniel Sharp to keep 4th. Meanwhile, Hunter Blaze hasn't given up the lead once, as we now take 2 to go, but he's got lapped cars in front of him. M. Mark in the 03 for Truman Ellison Motorsports, and Tim Burkhalter in the 6 for David Hetzel's team. He's having a lot of trouble getting around them, as Kerry Fenton and Grant Carsons are bearing down as we take the white flag. Hunter Blaze is having trouble using that inside to get around the lapped cars, but then again, the inside line is not the easiest for the cars behind him. Fenton and Carsons can't find a way around, and Hunter Blaze is going to take his 2nd career win, putting himself and Gravity Racing back in victory lane for the first time since 2017, following M&J Racing's footsteps.